Hey there! You probably know me as the guy who made that one how to normal click 10 CPS video. It did very well and got a lot of attention, but at the same time, I have kept getting the same types of comments repeatedly, which would seem to indicate that I didn't do the best job at explaining things. So this video is going to serve as the definitive version of the tutorial. Having said that, going into this, it is probably best if you've already watched the original one. As this video is going to be much more complete, and therefore have parts which may not be as relevant to you, I will leave some timestamps in the description, so feel free to jump around. But before all else, let me show you the technique in action. What I'm doing here is tensing up the back of my hand, and then moving my finger as fast as I can. What is happening is that instead of tensing it up and then untensing it every time, I'm keeping the tension steady, which means that I then have to do less work to click, and this is why it's so efficient. But before explaining how to do it, I'm going to talk about my history with the technique. So when I first started getting into Minecraft PvP, I didn't give clicking speed much thought, but over time I started noticing that I could normal click quite fast. There was no single point at which I consciously made an effort to click the way I do, and to my knowledge, for most people who click like this, it just came naturally for them. But if you're watching this video, it is because it didn't come naturally to you, and yet you want to see if you can click reasonably fast without jitter clicking. Now, at this point, the way I see it, there are two options. Either you're doomed and it can only be done by those to whom it comes naturally, or alternatively, there is some way that you can learn it. And if I'm making this video, it's because I think there is such a way. The reason for me thinking so is that with my left hand, I can't do the technique. If there was some immutable characteristic that allowed me to click like this, you'd think I could do it with both hands. Since I can't, there has to be some difference between both of my hands, and by extension, between my right hand and other people's, which explains why I can do it and other people can't. At this point, I'd like to present you an analogy. Imagine two friends, let's call them Jim and Tim, who decide to start going to the gym because they want to get big and strong, like yours truly. So they go over and get some barbells, and each tries out some squats with the lowest weight possible. Jim manages to do a few, but for Tim, the minimum weight is just too much, and he can't even do one squat. Over time, Jim gets better and better, and goes on to squat with heavier and heavier weights. Meanwhile, Tim never even got into the game, and so he's so pathetically weak, a stiff breeze would knock him over. In this scenario, what Tim should probably do is make things easier for himself and learn how to do squats without the barbell on top. And then, once his legs aren't as feeble, he can start doing barbell squats and gradually become as much of a Giga Chad as Jim. With clicking, it's the same story. If straight up clicking 10 CPS isn't doable for you, we have to look for ways of making it easier. But let's first understand what needs to be trained in our case. If I look at my hands, I can see that the areas that get engaged while I do it are mainly in the back of my hand, in this muscle next to my finger, and in my wrist area. So if I find an easier technique that still trains the same zones, I can keep on training until I can do the barbell squats, so to speak. The hand position we're going to use is this one, where I put my fingers together and click. I'm squeezing them tight, all the while ensuring I don't accidentally start jitter clicking. By that I mean I don't start vibrating my whole arm. What's happening here is that instead of using only my index finger, I am also helping it with my thumb and with my middle finger, splitting the load, so to speak. You'll notice that instead of only my finger moving, my whole hand moves, because now my fingers form a block that moves as one. However, the movement is essentially the same. I can still feel it in my wrist, and it is still the tension in my hand that allows me to do it. And since I can do this with my left hand, as well as my right hand, it is reasonable to assume most people can do it. At this point, I should also add that the less fingers that you use, the more each one has to do, and therefore the more you're training your hand. And also note that you're not supposed to PvP with this technique. I don't really know anybody who uses it while PvPing. That being said, if you do want to use it, I recommend using your pinky finger to help you aim. Otherwise, it's going to be very hard. Either way, if all goes well, you should be able to, at some point, start normal clicking faster and faster. And from the point where you can click 8 to 9, you'll just naturally end up getting 10 to 11 CPS. And I know some people can do more. Maybe that's your case. Now I'd like to clear some stuff up. I've seen a lot of people commenting on my previous video that I was jitter clicking. Before all else, this is me jitter clicking. You can clearly see the difference between my 14 CPS when jittering and my 10 CPS while normal clicking. But some people say that my normal clicking technique is another form of jitter clicking because I'm jittering my finger, so to speak. The truth is, there isn't much point in arguing about this because it's all a matter of what you call it. The way I see things, with 99.9% of people, if you tell them you jitter click, they will come away thinking that you vibrate your arm. On the other hand, if you ask Stimpy or Refraction how they click, they will say that they normal click. You can call it jitter clicking if you'd like, in the same way that you can call milk and cereal soup. But when you ask for the soup and your mom brings you the gazpacho, don't act surprised. Either way, hopefully this video helped you. And if it did, let me know by normal clicking the subscribe button and like button an odd number of times.